starting out, for any of the people who might be new to the Next Academy, can you give me a brief introduction of who you are, your background, and your position at Next?
My name is Marty Riesberg. I am a journeyman wireman. At the end of the day, came through the apprenticeship program in Omaha, Nebraska, and worked there actually as the assistant training director after I turned out for about 5 years, and came to at that time, the National Joint Apprenticeship and Training Committee, the NJATC, which is now called the Electrical Training Alliance. Now I still work for the Alliance and do curriculum, and particularly work with our training partners that happen to be some of the foundational sponsors for the Next Academy as well. So there is some overlap in there. And this is my second year of being one of the instructors for the Next content, and just love working with the people and the participants of the program as we go through the content of the Academy.
Great. So I am honored to be lead faculty at Next Leadership Academy. And I actually have reframed what was originally retirement in 2011 into my refirement. So I proudly served in the United States Coast Guard for over 31 years, and I'm also a proud mother of a U.S. Army soldier and a U.S. Navy sailor. I'm proud that both our sons decided to pursue military service, as my husband is also Coast Guard retiree with U.S. Navy submariner service. Throughout my Coast Guard career, I had been evaluated very high in developing others and looking out for others. So for me, it was a natural transition to pursue leadership coaching. So in 2011, within months of retiring, I attended Georgetown Leadership Coaching certification program. I've had the opportunity to really work with leaders, and when I look back and was preparing for retirement, for me, what was most fulfilling is seeing the legacy of leaders behind. Yeah, to be able to bring that into the world and into the construction industry has really been fulfilling.
I'm Dr. Michael Callanan. Been in the electrical construction industry for almost 40 years now, working primarily in the area of workforce development and in the area of apprenticeship and apprenticeship training. I've worked in several roles in the industry, most principally as the executive director of the National Joint Apprenticeship and Training Committee, which is now the Electrical Training Alliance, and which I've combined with work and formal degrees in leadership and leadership development.
So what made you decide to become an instructor at the Next Academy?
Awesome question. I like the idea of really delving into the topics that are in the Academy. I really do like strategy. I like culture. I like negotiations and those sort of things, and being able to have a conversation about those specific topics. That's difficult sometimes when you're trying to work it into any of the other things we do in the electrical industry. So it's really nice to jump into and get to those actual researchers and the models and the content that they created. And I think that's really what's interesting about it, and what excites me about working in the Academy.
As part of my transition and refirement, I went to George Washington University Executive Leadership Doctoral Program. And there I met Michael Callanan. And he and I sat in two corner seats for about 2.5 years. I attribute to getting through the program to Dr. Michael Callanan, and we kind of pushed and pulled each other. And at that time, after we finished the class program and we're working towards completing our research, he was actually working on these 2-day leadership programs that were part of Next annual, they call them conferences. And so I had the opportunity to co-teach and co-develop those programs. And what I really aspire towards is, how are we different, right? How are we applying what we learned? And is the learning relevant to what we're doing day to day? And that's really what I love about Next Leadership Academy. One criteria I had put out was I wanted to add value and be valued. And with Next Leadership Academy, I truly feel that it meets that criteria.
I had probably the best job I thought I could ever have as the executive director of the National NECA and IBW apprenticeship program. But I began to put together, trends in the industry, seeing this increased need for leadership and leadership development in our industry. And so I left that with the sole purpose of being able to work within our industry to improve our leadership and leadership development. So that really was the impetus for me giving that up. And I still today believe that this is a source of competitive advantage for our contractors if they can learn to leverage these leadership constructs to support the everyday work they're using in providing services to the construction industry.
Could you talk to me a little bit about what you teach at Next?
Really, I take care of some of the face-to-face classes and working with the participants in the longer format face-to-face classes where we really have time to interact and have discussions about the different topics that we're talking about in any particular month. So each month has a theme. As we're working through that theme, we both can talk about, and then in a face-to-face setting, really have a deeper discussion about that particular topic.
Through the 2-day seminars that Michael and I put together for the conferences, that emerged into a 12-month blended learning program. And it's wonderful that we have such generous sponsors, Graybar, Southwire, Milwaukee, and ABB. We're able to put each sponsor one quarter, and within each quarter we have the enabling leadership, the building vibrant organizations. The third quarter we have innovation and disruption for a VUCA world, and then finally this last quarter, we have negotiating for a better future. As faculty, we're available through email and through phone calls when there's questions and run different ideas by with participants on how they might apply something, or if they have applied something and maybe it didn't work. And we really encourage that, because one of the topics we talk about, failing forward and not being afraid of failure, and how can you use failure to learn.
One of the things I've really enjoyed doing at Next is working in a company exclusive model in which we work with a number of contractor employees over the course of the year. What's unique about this is it allows us to customize this Next foundation for the specific needs of a contractor. So I may have a contractor that is working, for example, in the outside transmission and generation sector of the construction industry, or a mechanical contractor, or a low voltage systems integrator contract. While the principles of leadership are the same, the needs of each contractor for their sector, their segment, can vary. And so what we do is we present the same material that we deliver in Next, a 12-month module material, but we customize a capstone project based on the specific needs of the host contractor. So for example, we'll work in quarterly meetings with them to identify specific deliverables that they would like to bring to their company, over the course of the year. It may be on, human capital and building and training leaders. It could be an area on technology adoption. And we'll work during the course of the years to customize these deliverables. So you kind of get the best of both worlds. You're getting the formal leadership development training from the Next Academy, but we're able to customize through the host program and work specifically with their groups and teams to meet their needs for their specific company.
So what is your opinion on the learning curriculum at Next, and why do you think it is beneficial for leaders who have that busy schedule?
Yeah, I do think the curriculum at Next is important for the busy schedules. We've all got busy schedules. We've all got so much going. So you really have the opportunity as a participant to either be at the in-person class, be at the live class if you've got the time, if you've got the flexibility to do that, or to view it in a format where it's online and you can look at it later at your convenience. So I think having that flexibility makes it accessible to everyone, because we know everybody is so busy and has so many things going on. There's just no way that they could make 30 or 40 classes throughout a year. So having that flexibility is an important piece.
So great question. And again, as I mentioned, this emerged from a 2-long 8-hour day, fire hose learning. And what I love about how we've now taken it into blended learning is you have 12 months to actually apply. So when you think each month you have an introductory webinar, kind of then what used to be the face-to-face, and then the end of month webinar. So you really have time through the month to incorporate, to read, to listen. I really do try to find suggestions and provide graphics to help people if they can't do all the reading. And we really encourage them, even if they haven't done the reading, just coming and listening in the class or participating in the webinars is really helpful. If people feel like they're falling behind, that start now, let go, give yourself grace, let go of judgment, and move forward. And there's always new information that they can take on and hopefully, as we mentioned, apply into their day-to-day leadership.
You know, I think it was the great author Tom Peters who said, if you're not confused today, well, then you're simply not paying attention. You know, today we live and we have to operate our businesses in what's called a VUCA environment, an environment that's volatile, it's uncertain, it's complex and ambiguous. And probably one of the greatest benefits of Next is that we're preparing leaders for a 21st century construction industry that continues to change, that they have to operate within this VUCA environment. I mean, think about the dramatic change that, you know, business owners in the construction industry face today compared to what perhaps their grandmother and their grandparents did in the 50s or even before. We have some fourth generation leaders actually within the Next Leadership Academy. The rate and pace of change is so dramatic. I mean, if anyone needs convincing of that, just look back over the course of the last 8 months. You know, it's bad enough we're living in a VUCA world, which is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. In the construction industry, we're dealing with an industry that's ripe for disruption. So we'll look at Clayton Christensen's model on disruptive innovation, for example. We're dealing with the onset of the fourth industrial revolution, the Internet of Things, and this dramatic technology change. And oh, by the way, if that's not enough, now we have to operate in this post-COVID-19 world, meaning after the arrival of COVID, as we begin to think about changing our work practices and our strategy to accommodate a world that no contractor sat a year ago thinking about, you know, when they planned for 2020. So what I think Next does is prepare business leaders to be agile, to be able to respond to what's next, because we don't know what's next. And this can't be done in a 2-hour session. It can't be done in, you know, a full day seminar. This takes exploring and leveraging constructs like leadership development, organizational learning, you know, looking at organizational culture, disruptive innovation. And the only way to really be able to do that is extend it out over the course of the year and reflect on these, you know, over the course of the year to try to make sense of how you can position your company to be agile in this ever-changing world.
What is something that you are passionate about that you get to convey through the Next Academy?
Well, I think, you know, having the opportunity, as I said, to work with the content itself, but then really to work with and help the participants think about how to apply the content. The real learning in these things happens not just when we go through a presentation or we think about something. It's in how we reflect on it after the fact and how we apply it in our day-to-day lives. I think that's really the part that interests me the most and really drives further thought and further application of these things as we move forward.
What I really appreciate and what I really am passionate about, and probably am too well known for, is that inner game of leadership. So how can we learn, emotional intelligence would be one of the topics. How can we learn to self-regulate? You know, just like I shared this morning, a well-laid plan of a schedule that fell apart within minutes of having to jump on this call. How can I take a breath? How can I pause? How can I settle my nervous system? How can I make choices and honor commitments the best that I can, despite best laid plans are falling apart in front of me? Just really that inner game of leadership, and how can we be our best selves, because that's really how we can be the best leaders we can be, the best parents we can be, the best partners we can be.
And one of the things that really drives my passion is this ability for leaders and leadership to change and transform the lives of the people that they touch. You know, sometimes we don't think about this enough, I think. You know, leadership is a gift. It's this incredible gift. And I liken it to a calling. It's a calling that you either say yes to or you say no to. And the fact of the matter is, we spend a lot of time in the Next Leadership Academy unpacking these leadership myths. This is not something you're born with. This is not something you have to be smart enough to do. This is not something that comes with a title. This is something that every one of us has the ability to answer to and respond to this call. I don't want to mislead anyone. This is hard work. It's messy. You have to roll your sleeves up. You have to get down, on the dance floor with everyone and really, work at leadership. But the payoff is immense. To see the ability for people to transform the lives of those that they work for them, it's an incredible gift. And probably my passion is helping, others within the leadership arena of the construction industry, whether you're a project manager running your first project, whether you're the CEO, whether you're a fourth generation, granddaughter of the founder of the company. Every one of us have this incredible ability to leverage our leadership skills to transform not only our companies, but the people that work with us, and I hope along the way, society, and make it better too.
What is something that the future of Next can expect from you? Something that you're excited about going forward, a new installment, or any kind of inside scoop that you could give the audience?
Yeah, I think for next year, for 2021, really excited to see how these dynamic learning portfolios are going to work out for the participants. There's going to be a specific sort of portfolio or document that works with every class, and really intended that it makes it easier for the participant to recall what was in the class, and also to things that pique their interest, having the opportunity to jot a note down and to follow up on later, and again, apply those things in their day-to-day lives.
My hope is, as Next Leadership Academy continues to grow and expand, that we're able to offer leadership coaching to supplement the modules and the curriculum that we're already delivering. And then the other idea too is, having worked in a male-dominated industry, right, the military, I graduated from the Coast Guard Academy in 1984, so it was the 5th class with women. I went through my career and I always didn't want to exclude, right? I didn't want to be women only. And I learned that there is value in that. There is value because as women, we are different. We do learn differently. So I know NECA has a NECA Women's Organization, and there might be opportunities for a very specific women's leadership program. So that might be something that I have the experience and then the interest in helping pursue something that might help women leaders as they continue into the executive ranks of the construction industry.
One of the things that I love about Next is the flexibility that Cody Phillips and Chad Jones designed as co-founders of Next. That enables me as the director of curriculum who's working on that to have the flexibility to, in real time. We're already beginning to introduce content and curriculum that we never thought of 3 years ago. For example, virtual teams. Today in this post-COVID world, so many more of our contractors are finding themselves working in a virtual team setting. So what do we know about how we can be effective in leading virtual teams? So this isn't a locked-in curriculum that is not responsive to the business needs and the business community. This is a curriculum that allows us to, on the fly, adapt to the needs of our contractors as they try to do that. So I'm really excited that this curriculum will continue to develop and evolve as our business needs change, as owners. And that's something that every one of the business owners thinking about this should recognize. This can move in the direction that you and your company need to, and will move based on what we see in trends, in the environment, when we scan the environment and see what's coming. Next will always be right there with us, making sure that we're giving the latest and greatest that we know about how you drive a sustainable and profitable business in this ever-changing 21st century construction industry. But the beauty of this, and I've had a number of contractors from the host program tell me this, one of the greatest values is if you have 10 or 12 people from your company studying leadership, change management, you begin to develop this common vocabulary, this common vernacular that people can share. And they can sit there, oh, before we tackle this, have we created the urgency for the change? What are the unintended consequences? So you're changing the level of the conversation and creating an opportunity to dialogue.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time and for you taking the time out of your day to do this with me.
That's a wrap, huh?
Thanks, Julian.
Yeah.
All right. Take care.
You too.
Have a good day.
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye.